My name is Lauren, and I'm 32 years old. For 3 years, I thought I had a pretty good life. I was married to my husband, Ryan, and we were happy, or so I thought. I had a good job, a nice home, and I had moved to Texas to settle down after finishing college. Everything seemed like it was going just fine. Then one day, I got a call from my younger sister, Julie. Julie is 3 years younger than me, and growing up, we had a difficult relationship. She was always the one who got more attention, more friends, more praise, more love. She inherited our mom's striking features: a slim figure, sharp facial structure, and piercing blue eyes. I, on the other hand, took after our dad, with brown eyes and a fuller, softer look. I struggled with my weight, always dieting and trying to keep up with what society expected, while Julie seemed effortlessly perfect. Even though we were sisters, Julie was never kind to me. In fact, she bullied me. As teenagers, our arguments went beyond normal sibling fights. They became full-blown screaming matches, and our parents had to step in often. It was no secret that Julie thought she was better than me, and she made sure I felt that way too. When I left for college, I couldn't have been happier to get away from her. We barely kept in touch after that, and the distance between us felt like a relief. So, when Julie called me out of nowhere, asking for a favor, I was surprised. "Hey Lauren, it's Julie," she said. I hadn't heard her voice in months, maybe even years. "I just got a job in Texas, but I don't have a place to stay yet. Can I crash with you for a few days until I find something?" My first instinct was to say no. I didn't want her back in my life, stirring up old memories and problems. But for some reason, I hesitated. Maybe it was because I didn't want to seem like the bad sister. Okay, I found myself saying, though I wasn't sure why. "Just for a few days, though." "Great, I'll be there soon," Julie replied quickly and hung up before I could change my mind. When I got home that evening, I told Ryan about the situation. He was laid back as usual. "As long as she doesn't cause any trouble, I don't mind," he said with a shrug. I didn't mention the complicated history between Julie and me. It felt too embarrassing to admit that my little sister had bullied me for years. I figured it wouldn't matter, since she'd only be with us for a few days. Julie arrived later that week. She looked as perfect as ever, her slim figure dressed in designer clothes, her hair perfectly styled. She gave me a quick hug, as if we were the closest of siblings. It felt strange, like we were pretending to be something we weren't. I showed her to the guest room and explained that she could stay as long as she needed, but deep down, I hoped it wouldn't be for long. For the first week, everything seemed normal. Julie kept to herself, mostly staying in her room or going out to explore the city. I started to relax, thinking that maybe things had changed between us. Maybe she had matured, and our relationship could be different now. But then, things started to shift. Julie began spending more time with Ryan. At first, it seemed innocent. She'd chat with him while I was in the kitchen, or they'd share a laugh over something. But soon, I noticed that their conversations were becoming more frequent. Ryan, who usually came home late from work, started arriving home earlier. One evening, I walked in to find them sitting on the couch together, laughing like old friends. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to sound casual, though my stomach was already twisting with unease. "Oh, Julie was just telling me some funny stories about college," Ryan said with a grin. Julie smiled too, like they were sharing a secret. I forced a smile, but inside, something didn't feel right. Julie had always been good at charming people, and I couldn't help but feel that she was trying to do the same with Ryan. Still, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be paranoid or seem like the jealous wife. But as the days passed, my unease grew. Julie had told me she would stay for only a week, but 2 weeks went by and she was still there. I felt too awkward to ask her to leave. After all, finding an apartment in a new city can take time. But then, one evening, Ryan casually suggested something that took me by surprise. "Why don't we let Julie stay with us for a while longer?" he said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "She doesn't seem to have found a place yet, and we've got the extra room." I hesitated. "I don't know. She said it would only be for a week," I replied, trying to hide my discomfort. "Well, I don't mind if she stays longer. We've got the space," Ryan said, looking at me with a smile that felt a little too eager. Julie, who had been sitting quietly on the couch, chimed in. I don't want to be a burden, Lauren. If you're uncomfortable with it, I can look for a place soon. The way she said it, so innocent, swing so sweet, made me feel like the bad guy. I didn't want to seem selfish or unreasonable, so I nodded. It's fine, I said, though every instinct in my body told me that something was wrong. Weeks turned into months, and Julie was still living with us. During this time, I noticed Ryan's behavior starting to change. He became more critical of me, more distant. He started making comments about my appearance, things he had never mentioned before. You should take some fashion tips from Julie, he'd say. She's always so put together. You could learn a thing or two. It stung, but I tried to laugh it off. I'm comfortable with the way I dress, I'd reply, but Ryan wouldn't let it go. You're just jealous of Julie, he'd say, almost joking, but with an edge that cut deep. The more time Ryan spent with Julie, the more strained our relationship became. He started coming home from work in a bad mood, snapping at me over little things, my cooking, my choice of clothes, even the way I arranged the living room. He'd compare me to Julie, saying things like, "She's only a few years younger than you, but she looks so much more youthful. Why don't you put in the effort like she does?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ryan had never been like this before. It felt like I was living with a stranger. One evening I came home to find Ryan sitting on the couch with Julie, laughing at something. I was dressed up for an office party and had chosen a red gown that I thought looked beautiful. As soon as I walked in, Ryan looked me up and down. "That's a nice dress," he said. "It would look great on Julie." The comment hit me like a punch to the gut. Julie smiled, clearly enjoying the moment. "Lauren, why do you even bother with expensive clothes?" she teased. "You could wear a trash bag and it wouldn't make a difference." I felt my face flush with anger and humiliation. "Are you both serious right now?" I asked, my voice trembling. Ryan just shrugged. "I'm just saying, maybe you should dress for comfort instead of trying to impress." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "It's my choice what I wear, Ryan," I snapped. "You have no right to dictate that." Julie laughed softly, her eyes glinting with amusement. "Oh, Lauren, always so sensitive. Ryan, how did you ever fall for her?" That was the last straw. I felt like a stranger in my own home, like I didn't belong. I stormed out of the room, furious and humiliated. My mind was racing. Was I being paranoid, or was something really going on between them? The next day, I decided to confront Ryan. "Why are you spending so much time with Julie?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ryan looked at me like I was crazy. "What are you talking about? I'm just being nice to your sister. You're jealous for no reason." But I wasn't convinced. My instincts were telling me something was wrong, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. Then something strange happened that confirmed my worst fears. While cleaning the bedroom one afternoon, I found Julie's ring under my bed. It wasn't just any ring, it was a ring I had seen her wear often, a distinctive piece of jewelry she rarely took off. I stared at the ring in disbelief. What was Julie's ring doing under my bed? That evening I confronted her. "Julie, I found your ring under my bed. How did it end up there?" Julie looked at me with a calm smile, as if nothing was out of the ordinary. "Oh, I was in your room the other day," she said casually. "I must have dropped it while I was changing." "Why were you changing in my room?" I asked, my heart pounding. "I used your bathroom," she said smoothly. "The water wasn't working in the guest bathroom, so I thought it would be easier to use yours." Her explanation seemed too convenient, too rehearsed. And Ryan, who was sitting nearby, didn't seem surprised at all. In fact, he barely reacted. It was like they were both trying to downplay the situation, like it was no big deal. But to me, it was a big deal. Something was going on, and I needed proof before I confronted them directly. If I didn't have evidence, they would just brush me off as paranoid and insecure. So I waited. I started paying attention to Ryan's schedule, noticing that he came home early from work more often than I had realized. I spoke with the building's security guard, casually asking if he had seen Ryan come home during the day. The guard confirmed what I had suspected. Ryan had been coming home early almost every afternoon, only to leave again before I got home. That was all the confirmation I needed. Ryan had been sneaking around behind my back, spending time with Julie while I was at work. My mind raced with anger and betrayal, but I knew I needed to be smart about this. If I confronted them without solid proof, they would just deny everything. I decided to confront them in front of witnesses. I called Ryan's parents and invited them over for lunch, Cesrenia telling them that Ryan had recently been promoted and I wanted to throw a small celebration. They agreed to come, completely unaware of what I had planned. The next afternoon, I picked up Ryan's parents and brought them to our apartment. I told them I wanted to surprise Ryan with their visit, so we quietly entered the house. I led them straight to the bedroom, where I knew Ryan and Julie would be. As I opened the door, my worst fears were confirmed. Ryan and Julie were in bed together, caught in the act. Ryan's face turned pale as he jumped out of bed, scrambling to cover himself. "What the hell are you doing here?" he shouted. I stepped aside, revealing his parents standing behind me. Their expressions were a mix of shock and disgust. "Mom, Dad, this isn't what it looks like," Ryan stammered, but it was too late. His parents turned and walked out of the room without a word. I followed them, trying to hold back my tears. In the living room, Ryan's mother, Teresa, shook her head in disbelief. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "I'm disgusted." Ryan rushed into the room, trying to explain. "Mom, please, it's not what you think," he pleaded, but his father cut him off sharply. "Shut up, Ryan. We saw exactly what was happening," his father said coldly. "You've embarrassed yourself and you've embarrassed us. Don't ever contact us again." As his parents walked out of the apartment, Ryan and Julie turned their anger on me. "You're such a jealous, insecure woman," Julie sneered. "You've been like this your whole life, always playing the victim." I didn't care anymore. I was done with both of them. I pulled out my phone and showed them the divorce papers I had prepared. "I'm done," I said, my voice steady. "I'm filing for divorce." Ryan and Julie were furious, hurling insults at me as I grabbed my bags and left the apartment. I had already packed my things, knowing that I couldn't stay there any longer. Over the next few weeks, I stayed with a friend while I filed for divorce. I was determined to rebuild my life without Ryan or Julie in it. I wanted nothing to do with either of them. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I got a call from Ryan's mother. "Lauren, we need your help," she said, her voice trembling. "Ryan's been arrested for embezzling money from his company." "What?" I gasped. "How much money?" "Over $500,000, she replied, "and Julie has run off with it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Julie had not only betrayed me, but she had also stolen the money and disappeared, leaving Ryan to face the consequences. The police eventually caught Julie, and she was charged with multiple counts of embezzlement. Ryan, with his lighter role in the scheme, was released after a few months, but his life was ruined. He lost his job, his savings, and his reputation. As for me, I moved on. I rebuilt my life, far away from the chaos that Julie and Ryan had caused. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the people we think we can trust the most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. And in the end, I came out on top, free from the toxic people who had tried to bring me down.